Hi, this is Rob Polenik from C3 Method. I'm doing an arm workout today, but I figured I'd show you some of the supplements that I use to lead into my workout and then also intra-workout. I already had my pre-workout drink, so for that I use NutriCost Pre-X. It's their pre-workout, has a lot of good ingredients to kind of get you pumped up and get energy going. I like it because although I wouldn't say it's necessary, the caffeine and the other beneficial supplements in there, they give you kind of like a revved up, pumped up energy feeling. So I like that. If I take it, I drink that, and then in about 30 minutes I know I'm going to work out. It makes me feel a little more fired up and excited for my workout. It might be placebo. It's probably something to do with the supplements inside, but I just like knowing, okay, I drink this and my body's going to be fired up and ready and I'll be excited to train. And then paired with that, I use creatine monohydrate. They're both fruit punch, and the flavor is actually delicious. I just put that with it because it's a good time to have a consistent reminder for the creatine. I do 5 grams. I do that pretty much every day. So that's my pre-workout routine. And then like I said, I'll drink that, and then in about 30 minutes I'll work out. During the workout, I use whey protein isolate. I'll mix this with Skittles drink packets. They are calorie-free-ish. There's, I don't even know, like 5 calories in one pack. So it gives it flavor. And what I like about the combination of the vanilla and then this is I can do different flavors. So if I want a fruit punch one day or an orange or a wild berry, I can change up the flavor with Skittle packs. And this I usually drink during the workout, but it kind of depends when I drink. It depends on what I ate before the workout. If I'm working out in the morning and I'm fasted, I'll drink this immediately and have it start coming into my system during the workout. If I'm working out middle of the day, I've already had some food, I tend to wait to have this more towards the end of the workout whenever the muscles are more damaged and beat up and they'd be able to soak it in. So what's interesting is when I was doing my master's in nutrition, I did a thesis, which was a 50-page paper, 200 peer-reviewed research articles about the anabolic window, meaning how important is it that you get protein in within the 20 minutes after a workout, how important that is for muscle repair and then protein synthesis, muscle creation. And what I found out after all that research and everything was basically just, if you can get protein in when the muscles are damaged, great. The sooner the better. And you can pair the protein with a simple carbohydrate like a sugar, and that helps to shuttle the protein in a little bit faster, but it's not overly significant. What more so matters is the total calorie and protein consumption for the day, because muscle repair and then muscle growth is a process that can take, depending on the intensity of the training, 24, 36, 48 hours. So what you do 20 minutes after workout, although it can be helpful, it's in the grand scheme of things not the most important thing. So I will shift around the timing of the intra-workout protein, kind of depending on, like I said, whether I've eaten that in that time of the day or not. So there I just chose orange as going to be the flavor I guess I'll use for my protein. And then I don't want to double up on that. Let me pick a different flavor. Here we go. So this one is pineapple passion fruit. And this is just plain water. So I usually drink 2 of these in one workout. I usually drink more when I'm dieting, which is what I'm doing now. So I just like having it all prepared and ready to go before I get into the workout. That way I don't have to kind of stop in the middle and mess up the groove. So I'll put a cap on these and start warming up, and I'll show you what I'm starting with today. To start the workout, I'm doing some one-arm bicep curls on the cables. And this variation, I'm going to be doing what I would feel is a little bit of an overload variation. So I'm holding on to this for a little bit of stability, and then I'm going to grab the handle kind of lean into that side. So if you're looking straight from the squat rack, I'm leaning over to get my shoulder over the elbow joint. I'm going to be holding onto the brace. I'm curling basically straight up and down. I like getting that little bit of shoulder over the elbow to get more of an even recruitment through the bicep. I've had some bicep injuries in the past when I was doing strongman style training. I tore both my biceps doing stone loading, so bummer. However, thankfully they still function and they work well. I just got to build them up and balance them back out. What I like about this is when I can find that good position, I get my shoulder over the elbow. And then also in this one, I'm going to be curling to the top, but as I come down to the bottom, I'm going to stop short of a full extension. So it's almost like I'm using the top 3/4 of the range of motion. And I'm keeping my elbow in front of my shoulder joint, so even at this bottom position, the bicep stays loaded. And then I'm just going to basically be pumping the bicep like this. And it's okay if I get a little bit of swing, a little bit of elbow movement. The idea is to get a mixture of a really good weight load and then a really good intensity. I did my warm-up sets for 20, so I did 20 on the right, 20 on the left, then right back through at a lighter weight at like 30 pounds. I then did maybe like a 30-second break, did 40 pounds for 20 on each arm, and now I'm at 50 pounds. What I'll do for my working sets is look for today somewhere between 10 to 15 reps. So I'm going to do 10 to 15 on my right arm, 10 to 15 on my left, and then I'll be doing what's called a double set. So I'm going to keep that same weight, go right back to my right arm, get whatever reps I can, go to my left arm, get whatever reps I can. So if on the first bout of effort I can do 10 to 15, let's say I get 12, I shouldn't probably be able to get another 12 since I'm not really taking a full rest. So it's okay if on that second bout of effort the reps drop. What I like about this though is it's really high intensity and I get a chance to pump up the muscles. And I like that because it's a ton of intensity, ton of stress, but it's a moderately light weight load compared to starting with like barbell curls where you gotta go really heavy. This is a great way for me to get maximal intensity but safety. And then once I'm pumped up, I can then go to a movement that emphasizes the full stretch. And I know that I'm less likely to get injured in that. I'm going to get much better muscle stress out of that movement. So I like doing a pump style bicep movement before I do my heavier, more loaded stretch movements for biceps. So I'm going to go ahead and get my sets of this. I'll fast forward through some of the stuff, but that's essentially the goal is 10 to 15 on the right arm, 10 to 15 on the left, and then go back through. Okay, so I got one set on each. Now I do that second bout of effort. Okay, that was good. So I got 15 and 15, then I think 11 and 11. So that was really good. I'll now take what I would consider a full break, 2 to 3 minutes, and then do the same thing, 2 to 3 minutes, do the same thing. So it'll be 3 sets of double sets, and that's gonna get me really good pump, and then I'll move into something that's gonna give me that loaded stretch. I'll get these in, and then I'll join you for exercise number 2. The second exercise I'll be doing for biceps will be the movement that I'll now emphasize the loaded stretch. So now that I have the muscle pumped, when I get into the loaded stretch, it's going to more pull on that muscle rather than the connective tissue. So this helps create more muscle stress intensity, and it protects the connective tissue. What I'll be doing is an alternating dumbbell curl. However, there's a couple nuances to it. I'll show you with the dumbbells here in a second, but just to not kill myself, I'll just mimic it at first. So I'll be holding a dumbbell in each hand, and what I'll do is when I'm curling one arm, the resting arm, I'm going to have my palm facing forward, so that arm is in more of a stretch, and I'm going to let it just kind of like hang. But now that the bicep is pumped, that's actually going to be creating a decent amount of stress on the bicep. And the reason why I palm forward is that creates more of a stretch tension on the bicep than if I were to rest with my palm neutral. That actually kind of takes away a lot of the stress. So I'm going to be resting with my palm forward and the dumbbell to the front of my thigh. That's going to be an active rest, meaning it's easier than actually doing the lift, but there's still some tension. Then the arm that's actually moving will be palms up, and I'm going to do a couple reps at a time on this arm, and then I would rest that arm while I do reps on this side. And then similar to the double set, I'm going to come back and do the first arm, then the second arm, and sometimes I'll just do one like double set, or I'll do extras. So we'll see kind of what it feels like today. But an example might be where I try to do maybe like 10 on like 10 the first bout, and then maybe like 6 and 6, and then 3 and 3. So I know that it's going to die as I do multiple sets. The muscle won't be able to hit the exact same reps every single time because there's no rest. However, I like having some type of number goal to push myself, so that way I just don't quit when it starts to get hard, because the whole damn thing is hard. So in general, I usually aim for half. So if I do like 12, 6, and 3, 10, 5, and then can't do 2.5, so 3, I always round up. But that's the premise. You can play with this however you want. If you go lighter weight, slower eccentric, slower concentric, you maybe don't have to take as big of a drops. So you do like 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. You can set it up a bajillion different ways. But the idea is that you're doing multiple reps on one arm, multiple on the other, and then eventually it gets lower and lower in how many reps you do. So that'll be the setup. I'll grab a decent weight here and get the first bout of effort in, and that'll let me determine what I want weight-wise for my full-on working sets. So let's test out a weight. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Oh, dang. Whew. Okay, so that was the 30s. It was 10, 6, and 3. I like that one. I did back yesterday, and that was actually the second half of, I did back on, today's Thursday. I did back on Tuesday, but I did like pull-ups and pull-downs. And then I went to Fitness Factory of Charlotte and did some rows on Wednesday. And now I'm Thursday and I'm doing biceps. So my biceps are definitely a little sore. So I'm gonna stay with the 30s and probably stay around this 10.63. If everything was fresh, maybe I can move up, but it's not worth it. This is a lot of good muscle stress, and it's not worth risking trying to push like 5 extra pounds and injuring anything. So I would rather push for more reps, maybe do more drops, just push the volume rather than the weight load. So I really like that, but that's an example of what a working set will look like. Is you get kind of the high rep effort on the first, and then you just repeat and repeat, knowing that the reps are gonna drop. So that'll be my second exercise, and that's the one that loads that stretched position, so that way you can really stress the muscle tissue to promote more growth. I made it through the 3 working sets of bicep curls. Since that was a really good pump, I felt like it was a good quality work, and it's coming on the backside of 2 back-to-back back days. I'm gonna leave my biceps there, so that went really well. I'm now moving into triceps. I wanted to show you what I have set up. On the cable station here, I just moved this pulley all the way to the top, and I'm using a variation of a rope grip. I got this on Amazon. It was really cheap. It just has these loops. And I like it because you can grab in the loops if you want, and that creates a handle. Or you can actually put your hands through and grab onto the rope like this, and that alleviates a little bit of grip work. You'll see that I'm actually going to be pairing this with cable crunches. And on the cable crunches, I put my hands through. For now, I'm just going to hold this like kind of a normal grip handle. And I'm doing a back support, so I'm going to put my back against this post. And what I like about this is it makes the movement super strict, and that allows me to get better isolation and focus into my triceps. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my thumbs around my chest height, and then I'm going to pull down on the rope. So now I have it tensioned, and this motion is basically just a sweep out to the sides. So my upper arm stays nice and stable. My knuckles are close together here at the top. And then as I push down, the hands spread apart. So this is super controlled. I try not to let my upper arm move at all, and just take advantage of the full range of motion to get a good stretch here to the top and a good squeeze and contraction at the bottom. What I really like about this is it hits, for me, all areas of the tricep. So I get more of that outside horseshoe, I get the long head, and then at the very bottom, when you're about to lock out, you can actually twist your wrist a little bit, and that hits this inner portion here. So I really like the way that this feels. I feel like I get really good engagement and quality. With this movement, you're going to notice you can't go super heavy due to it being strict and trying to stay within that nice full range of motion. But if you're already doing a lot of chest presses, a lot of overhead presses, and then I'm actually going to be pairing after this, I'm going to do some bodyweight dips. So if you're doing big pressing compound movements in your other workouts, you're going to get your triceps involved. Especially for me, I have short upper arm bones, so my triceps are involved in all of my presses. I actually have to work really hard to take the triceps away to better isolate my chest during chest presses, or get better shoulder involvement in my overhead presses. So I get a lot of tricep work through that stuff. So when I'm doing isolations for tricep, when I'm really doing just a tricep day, I like to make it as strict as I can, so all the miserable stress and tension of the movement stays just in the tricep and nowhere else. So I'll do sets for this, usually 14 to 20 reps. If I do a couple sets and it starts to fatigue and I feel really good, I'll maybe bump up in weight and try sets of 10 to 14. But with this one, it's better to stay moderate weight load, really focus on that quality and the time under tension, making sure that you feel the muscles stretching under the load and then squeezing as well. So I'll catch a working set here. Let me bump up the weight a little bit, and then you can see what a working set looks like. I'm not sure what I'm going to get here. I took a little bit longer talking than I normally do for a rest time, but somewhere between 10 to 20 is going to be a good goal. So you can't see it, but I cook my feet out so my weight is against the post, and that prevents me from being able to like lean forward or roll my shoulder forward as I'm trying to press down. So you want to keep your feet away a little bit and lean back into this. Okay. Oof, okay, so that felt really good. I was going to start to lose the control of the eccentrics. That's why I stopped there. What you might notice in my rep tempo is that I'm faster on the concentric, the contraction phase, than I am during the eccentric. We are weaker in the contraction than we are during the eccentric phase. But the eccentric phase is when our muscles actually get a little bit more of the mechanical stress of a repetition. Our muscles are built well to contract against weight load. So the actin, myosin, all that stuff that's in there in the muscles, it's built well to kind of grab and contract like this. But whenever you're doing the eccentric load, when you're stretching the muscles back out under weight load, there's a lot of damage that occurs. So what I like to do is to be a little faster during the concentric to make sure I can get to a nice slow eccentric. If I were to stay slow during the concentric, I might fail at say 11 or 12 reps, and I'm really only failing at the concentric strength. The eccentric is not maximized at all, whereas if I start going a little faster during the concentric, I can maybe squeeze out 1 or 2 more reps. That gives me 1 or 2 more eccentric loads, which I can still go very slow and controlled during that portion, and that way I can accrue a little bit more stress out of that working set. So you can play with your concentric eccentric speed to try to get more eccentrics, and that'll actually help you drive more muscle damage out of that movement. Paired with the tricep press downs, I'm doing some rope grip cable crunches. So I just left the setup the same. However, this time I'll now be putting my hands through these loops, and then I can hold on to the rope. What's nice about this is it allows my grip not to be the limiting factor for this movement. I want to make sure if I'm doing cable crunches to work my abs, I want my abs to be the thing that fails first. So that's what I like about this cable attachment, is that it has this loop feature. So I'll put my hands through there, and then with this movement I have the pad over here so I can rest my knees on that. And what I'm looking to do is I want to, when I'm performing the movement, pivot through the bottom of my rib cage. So you'll notice that when I'm in place, the angle of my midsection here and my hips really doesn't change. I'm pivoting actually through my rib cage, not bending at my hips. So that's sometimes where people will mess up on cable crunches, is you are moving through your hips and not your rib cage. So we actually want to focus on the ribs. And then the other thing is we want to make sure we pull inward on the abs. So anytime we're doing an ab exercise and we're creating a contraction, we want to pull the ab wall in. And that will help us tighten our ab wall over time. So that way you can build the muscle bumps you want, but the stomach doesn't protrude or stick out. So that's just nice for aesthetics. All my clients who are my female clients post-pregnancy, they're going to experience some degree of diastasis recti, which is a separation of the ab wall. So we focus on vacuums and abdominal exercises where we're always pulling in, trying to touch our belly button to our backbone is the cue that I use. So you want to be doing that during this movement. This also helps any male who might have a distended stomach. This is a great way to eventually, over time, kind of pull your abs inward to create more of that flat stomach. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm doing sets of 10 to 14. I'll show you a working set. I won't be able to talk during it, otherwise you just hear me breathing the whole time. So I'll get a good set in, and again, pulling the abs in and pivoting through the rib cage, not the hips. Whew, okay, so I think that was 10. That felt really good. So that was a good set there. Between these two movements, I'll be aiming for 3 to 4 working sets. Since I'm not doing any special techniques, sometimes I'll throw in an extra set if everything is feeling good. So I'll catch my 3 to 4 sets here, and then I'll show you the pairing that we're going to end the workout with. And to finish up, the pairing I'll be doing is dips here and pull-off rotations. For the dips, I'm using the Mutant Metal UDA, which is the ultimate dip attachment. I love this thing. The handles are ridiculous, super sturdy, everything's super sturdy, and it stores actually super easy. So this can actually come out and I store it here on my rack. But I absolutely love this. So I'll be doing body weight today, but this is something you could definitely do weighted if you wanted to. It could hold whatever you want on it. So I'll be doing body weight. For me, at this point in the workout, at the end, I'd probably be able to do 10 to 20 reps with decent control. This is going to get a good complement after the isolation of the press downs. This gives me kind of like a push mechanics, which is a kind of a different way of training the triceps, but really helps them grow. I did say already in the video that I have a lot of presses with the chest presses and overhead presses, but for me, for dips, I really don't feel much, if anything, in my chest or my front of my shoulders. It really feels like a good heavy overload into my triceps. You can think of it as a seated like tricep press down or dip machine. You can get it pretty pinpointed. For me, I find a really good mind-muscle connection with this. So it feels more isolative than what you might think, at least for me. So I'll be doing sets body weight on this, and then I'll show you after a set here, I'll show you what the pull-off rotations are. Okay, let's get this going. Whew. Okay, so that was 18. I was starting to feel if I kept going, I might overstretch or strain the chest or the shoulders. So that felt like a nice little pinpointed effort in the triceps, which is what I was looking for. So I'll end up catching at least 2 more sets, and then we'll see how I feel at that. Next is the pull-off rotations. Okay, I'm still out of breath from the dips, so excuse my breathing. I have here just a long handle. It's often referred to as a sports handle, but I like using this sometimes, or just a regular like D-ring handle. But with this, essentially what I'm looking to do is rotations. So I'm going to grab the handle, step out, and then twist. The idea though is I'm going to have my feet set a little bit outside of like hip width, and then when I'm rotating, I'm trying to, essentially the arm that's closest to the cable, you're going to be pushing, and then the other one you're basically just trying to like hold position. It doesn't really do much. So I'm going to push the handle and try to rotate through my midsection. But what I want is to keep my hip bones in place. So I don't want to rotate my hips. I'm going to keep those locked in place, and all the rotation is coming from my obliques and my abdominal muscles. So those are going to rotate, and whatever range of motion I can get. It might not look big, but it's kind of creating torque and twist through all these muscles. And then the same thing is with the cable crunches, you're trying to pull your abs in the whole time. So again, think of like belly button to the backbone. And then also with this is you can load the stretch a little bit. When you step out, you can actually turn a little bit away from the cable stack, and that allows you to load that stretch some, and that can give you just a little extra intensity into the movement. So we'll catch a set, probably like 10 to 15 reps on each side. I just took a big fat guess of the weight. I didn't do a warm up yet. So we'll see how this goes. Whew, okay, I think that was 10. Now we'll catch the other side. Okay, that was pretty heavy. I might have to go down on that. But that was really good. So same thing here. I'll match whatever sets I do in the dips, probably 3 to 4. And that'll be the full workout. So you saw the biceps. We started with that double sets on the cable curls to get a good pump. Then we did the rep drop sets, alternating curls with the dumbbells to get a loaded stretch. That killed the biceps because on each of those I did 3 working sets, but within each working set was multiple bouts of effort, so it ended up being a lot of volume there. But that was really good. And then triceps was the back supported press downs, paired that with the cable crunches, and then I have this final pairing here. So if you give this workout a try, I hope you enjoy it. If you like these kind of videos, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll keep making them this way. If you have any suggestions, anything you'd like to see different, let me know that as well. The goal is that these videos are helpful and enjoyable and educational. So whatever element of that you would like to see more of, just let me know. I appreciate you watching. I hope you get everything you need from it. And thank you very much.